Hello and welcome to the Ignis tutorial guide brought to you by wowguidesnow.com. In this tutorial, I will first explain the Ignis abilities, and then explain them in greater detail with a full 25-man raid encounter footage. For further details and discussion on the topic, please click the link in the movie description if you're watching this on YouTube, to be redirected to wowguidesnow.com. The encounter starts with Ignis on the far side of the room, with two large pools on each side and a bunch of construct statues. The raid should be gathered somewhere in the middle of the room, and the tank should make sure Ignis faces away from the raid at all times. Ignis's first main ability will be to cast a spell called Flame Jet. It has quite a long cast time, and when it finishes, all the raid will be thrown up in the air, as well as interrupt and spell lock any magic skill of any spell being cast for 8 seconds. It is then vital for every caster in the raid to keep an eye on Flame Jet and stop casting before it finishes, so that they won't be spell locked. His second ability will be to charge a random player and then get back to the tank. His third ability, called Slackpot, will grab a random player and put it inside the giant pocket he has on his belly. The player will then suffer huge damage over time and needs to be massively healed until Ignis releases him. Another ability is Scorch. Scorch will place an AoE on the ground in front of Ignis, forcing your tank to keep pulling Ignis away to different locations, gradually making full circle around the raid group. On top of all that, and here comes the tricky part of this fight, Ignis will start waking up the constructs around the room, and they will need to be immediately picked up by an off-tank. Constructs can't be killed normally, so don't even bother. Instead, the off-tank should pull them to the Scorch AoE spots on the ground. This will start putting a stacking buff on them, increasing their damage, and after 20 stacks, the constructs will become molten. When they do, the off-tank pulls them to the water pools on the sides of the room. This will stun them and allow the off-tank to get away. A ranged DPS should then shoot them. When a hit greater than 5k hits them, they will die and on the process also explode, causing high damage to anyone near them. By then the process will start all over again with another construct. This was the ability summaries, and it may seem a bit overwhelming at first. Let's review them again in greater detail with a full 25-man raid encounter footage. The fight starts and Ignis is being tanked facing away from the raid. Here is a construct being awakened, as well as Scorch being placed on the ground. Watch how the off-tank immediately grabs him to the Scorch area. We will later be able to see how the construct is being killed by a mage. Flame jets are being cast, all casters stop DPS, and we are being thrown up in the air. A player is being flakpotted now and being healed to keep him alive. Important thing to remember about slackpots: players inside the slackpot can still heal themselves and should do so to help the healers, even if they are DPS spec'd. Because Slackpot can hit practically anyone, you have to make sure that everyone is replaceable. For example, make sure that the off-tank has a replacement should the off-tank get Slackpotted. When a Slackpot player is being released, he will also gain a buff. Here is a construct becoming molten, being pulled away to the pools, and then killed off by a mage. Now some guilds prefer to take an alternative method of keeping the constructs inside the Scorch area on the ground. They cast snares on him, such as roots, to keep him inside until he is ready to be pulled away to the pools. Now that is a good way to make it easier on the healers. However, it is very tricky, since you need to keep refreshing the snares on him and be able to also release them when he gets molten, and on the same time pull him to the water. We found this method to be overcomplicating this fight and not so reliable, as one single thing going wrong, like roots failing to apply, may cause a quick unnecessary wipe. If your healers can keep the off-tank app inside the Scorch area, this is by far the safest way to handle the constructs. Now that we've covered Ignis's abilities, the fight looks a lot less intimidating, and we can see clearly what's going on. Another construct is being pulled to the Scorch. Another flame jet. Another scorch on the ground. A quick rebirth on someone that died. Yet another flame jet. The construct is being pulled to the water and then killed. And so on till the end of the fight. And that concludes the Ignis tutorial. For more information and discussion on the topic, please click the link in the movie description. I would like to thank Resurrection Guild, and until next time, have a great raid and killer drops.